Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Tiana here, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of another Super Mario 3D, a ROM hack of Super Mario 64 DS for the Nintendo DS. So, last time, we somehow managed able to collect even more Power Stars. Specifically, we've managed to collect about 10 more Power Stars, which pretty much leads us to 20 Power Stars so far. And in addition to that, we also did manage able to explore into Hot Snowland, and overall, we actually did manage to fully 100% everything on that particular world. And in addition to that, we also did manage able to went into that particular course that does feature a lot of tree logs, and as a result we ended up fighting against with the forms of Goombas again, with Yoshi again, and as a result we did somehow manage able to finally get a chance to unlock Mario as a fully playable character now. So this means about the fact that we can now able to actually get onto the forms of the rest of the stuff, right? Well, here's the thing though, because today for this video is that yes, just like the forms of how it does it in Super Mario 64 DS as a vanilla version of the game, basically though is about the fact that today we are about to be able to be going out of the forms of the castle itself, and now we can able to destroy blocks like so. And as a result, we can able to actually get into the special secret course right there, and straight to the point for the fact that we do need to activate the question mark switch. And as a result though, that way we should be able to actually once again have the ability to utilize the special moves depending on what characters you're going to be using. Like for instance though, if you do manage to able to okay, so the switch itself is not too far from here, so I guess we should probably try to activate that, assuming of course the D-pad just feels a bit unintuitive at times. I mean, it will be a lot easier if we somehow use the circle pad for the 3DS, but that's besides the point. So now with the actual switch itself has been now activated, so this means we can now able to actually utilize the forms of one of those Mario's abilities, such as for instance though, if we managed able to hit that block over there, then there's the actual power flower right there, which allows Mario turns into some sort of like a Mario balloon, which yes, just like the forms of how it does it in the actual Super Mario 64 DS game, obviously though is about the fact that you can once again try to able to float for a while, but in order to able to actually cancel out the power up is by simply trying to able to just ground pound basically. And what I found was a little bit odd though is about the fact that I think, suffice to say, for this particular ROM hack in mind, I really can't guarantee for the fact that we might able to actually see Wing Cap Mario or anything else like that. So chances are though is about the fact that for the majority of the power-ups in the forms within this particular ROM hack itself goes, it's all about the flower power. So because of that though, I just want to classify that for mentioning about that. So, yeah, everything else will become to expected. What the heck is going on with the camera angle right there? Especially that about the fact that the cloud is almost blocking the view. But regardless of such though, about the fact that in this particular obstacle course right there is that we need to collect all of these 8 red coins, as pretty much self-explanatory for the most part. So, anyways though, so yeah, a few things I want to talk about this is though, and that's what it appears to be for the fact that, well, today's date of course there is the 9th of July today, in some cases in 2025 today. Only 8 more days to go folks until the Donkey Kong Bonanza for the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be releasing, and alongside with that, only 15 more days to go until Super Mario Party Jamboree Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV is going to be on its way too. So no matter what though, is about the fact that everything else will be a lot more exciting if we managed able to obtain those 2 specific games for Nintendo Switch 2. So chances are though is about the fact I'm still, you know, basically excited for the sake of the forms of Donkey Kong Bonanza already, so that way we can able to actually experience a 3D platforming exploration kind of game again, but this time around though focuses on Donkey Kong since Donkey Kong 64. So, yeah, I got nothing else to add. I mean, sure, no matter what though, until by that time, until next week, hopefully though we might hear more about the forms of the reviews of the game, despite the fact that I don't think it's possible they'll show us some spoiler elements, much like the forms of how it does it on the majority of not only some Switch 1 games, but in addition to Switch 2 games, you know, as well. At least as far as I'm assuming so anyway. So, But anyway, there's also reassuring about this too, is about the fact that, like I mentioned about this before, since in yesterday, for the fact that no matter what though, is about the fact that, well, not only does The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild did receive the actual new version update patch, but it additions the forms of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom as well. So, for instance though, for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild did somehow receive version 1.8.2 version update, specifically though for the Switch 2 edition of the game, and meanwhile for the sake of the forms of Tears of the Kingdom, it did somehow receive version 1.4.2, also for the Switch 2 version specifically. So for instance though, let's get to it with Breath of the Wild patch updates for Switch 2 version. That's what appears to be for the fact that they did state this. They fixed an issue wherein which the player was unable to use the daily bonus effects, health recovery, or heart meal if they had increased their hearts to the maximum number. And they also fixed several other issues related to Zelda notes have been addressed. And in addition to that though, they've also fixed several issues have been addressed to improve the gameplay experience. So, you know, there's only like 3 things they did somehow listed so far in terms of the forms of that particular version of the game. And in terms of the forms of Tears of the Kingdom, version 1.4.2 I should say, I think they also addressed the forms of the exact same information as before, but with one additional thing, so that as a result, they still fixed an issue in which the player was unable to use the daily bonus effects, health recovery, or hearty meal, or if they have increased the hearts to maximum number, and fixed several other issues related to Zelda notes has been addressed. And also, they've somehow stated this with the forms that they fixed an issue in which the background music would not be played correctly in certain battles on the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game. So, yeah, I guess it's that. And finally, they have fixed several other issues have been addressed to improve the gameplay experience, much like the forms of Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition. So, yeah, I guess that's quite a lot of information we can probably speak about. So, anyway, oh, in addition to that though, it's about the fact that there's also reassuring about this too, that recently though, ever since around a week ago or sometime, basically though, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe have somehow managed able to recently got added to the Nintendo Music app. So, I don't suppose about the fact that when it comes to both New Super Mario Bros. Wii or New Super Mario Bros. 2, will not expect it to be included on the actual Nintendo Music app. I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens in due time. I mean, which is especially noticeable considering for the fact that we got some more Mario content at the very least, so that's something. Oh, and on top of all that stuff though, is about the fact that we actually got ourselves our first look at the next season of Disney Speedstorm, and as far as I'm aware, I believe we're actually going back into the Toy Story universe in terms of the forms of the next season for Disney Speedstorm racing game. So, but that doesn't stop there, because they also announced there's gonna be a Switch 2 enhanced improvements version of the game. So, as far as I'm aware though, is about the fact that according to the actual description for it, it did state it about the fact that when it comes to the forms of this entire Nintendo Switch 2 improvements, they did state this. Starting with the season's update, players on the Nintendo Switch 2 can look forward to a much smoother, sharper racing experience thanks to the performance enhancements exclusive to the all-new hardware. The frames per second cap was now going to be raised to 60 frames per second as opposed to 30, so I guess that's a massive improvement over the likes of how it does it on Switch 1 version, so I guess that's a good thing. Delivering utterly or buttery smooth racing compared to the previous 60 frames per second limit on Switch 1 version, which I've already established that earlier. So chances are though is about the fact I'm still not entirely sure if I was expecting to— No! Oh, dang it, I screwed myself up. Ah, dang it. I have to grab all those 8 red coins all over again. All likely few minutes of it. Ah, dang it. I think I messed up my jump angle right there. But at least I know exactly where the locations are for those red coins, so Ah, that's a bit of a nuisance. But anyway, as I was saying, for the fact that for the likes of the 30 FPS limit is only for Switch 1 version, and they also stated this, enjoy 1080p in handheld mode, and up to 1440p when it's on dock, for the likes of crisper and more detailed look, and a number of other visual improvements such as better shadows, anti-aliasing, and shader quality to bring even more visual polish to every track. Those upgrades are exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2 players, so make sure your game is updated to get the most out of what the new console has to offer. So yeah, at the very least that's cool, especially because no matter what though, it makes the game a lot more playable compared to the forms of how it does it for Switch 1 version sometimes. So, and on top of all that particular subject though, in regards to the forms of Disney Speedstorm, like I said before, they're about to be going back into the Toy Story universe to able to bring not one, not two, but three other playable characters is going to be participating in the actual game. Like, for instance though, one of the characters based off from the likes of in Toy Story 2, one of them from Toy Story 3, and of course Toy Story 4. That's of course not only the evil Emperor Zurg, but in addition to Lotso, Huggin' Bear, and Forky, which as a result, these are the only playable characters they can probably think about right now. So either way, I just need to grab that Power Star so fast in case I don't want to die again. So thankfully, we somehow finally got the Power Star itself. Oh wait, that was a close call, because again, if I seriously managed to get myself screwed over and over again, oh jeez, I have to do a massive jump cut or something, but that's not the case here, so... Alright, so I believe once we enter this pipe down below, then we'll obviously once again try to fight Bowser right there, but in a different environment this time. So I guess no matter what though, he might still be taken down by one hit by simply trying to toss him onto one of those bombs in the actual arena. So chances are though, the entire battle is basically going to be self-explanatory as well as standard at the same time. So we can pretty much guarantee for the fact that we can kick his butt no problem. So, assuming of course he will able to just keep on doing a lot of fire breathing, but regardless of such though, let's go ahead and oh, I pressed the wrong button. Okay, so it's the A button in order to able to toss him. I know for a fact it's been such a very long while since I actually still last played Super Mario 64 DS, so I might able to actually trying to get used to with the actual button presses with all these actions in mind. But regardless of such though, there's our Bowser key right there. So we can now able to proceed into some more areas in terms of the forms of very unexpected design in terms of the forms of the castle itself. So either way, so yeah, there goes that. So either way, so let's go ahead and try to continue things on for this point. So, and I'm pretty sure enough though is about the fact that I don't think it's possible we can able to actually meet up with the forms of Big Boo's hut or anything. So chances are though we'll go straight into the upstairs part. And as a result, we can now able to unlock these two pairs of doors, and we can now proceed into, let's just say that we've almost at the halfway point in terms of story progression, but in terms of the forms of 100% in the actual ROM hack itself, it might take a bit of a while to able to actually get some progression here. So of course, if we made it to this room right here, now if you stand on that specific spot on that little hexagon platform right here, and if you try to stand on that specific spot like right there, we instantly manage to transport into a small room featuring Luigi's painting. So I guess we're able to jump right into it, and straight to the point we ended up in the haunted environment. So now I'm pretty sure enough though is about the fact that I think that chances are though there's only one extra power star in this particular course, and that's what appears to be collecting all 8 red coins, much like the forms of how it does it on well, let's just say the other special course that we've already experienced with as Yoshi. So chances are though is about the fact that I believe there's only one course exception to that, which we'll talk more about that if we get into later days to come, for specifically throughout the entire week, because like I said before, that's very unfortunate about the fact that Joel has no choice but to delay the last few bits in terms of the forms of WarioWare DIY Showcase, just before she just somehow managed able to get herself fully recovery after that particular cold that she's been having. So I mean, I wouldn't mind about it too much in regards to the forms are trying to focusing on this game for a while, because chances are though is about the fact that still, I've heard so many good things about this ROM hack already, ever since whenever I managed to first start this, you know? Alongside with the forms of newer Super Mario Bros. On the DS, which hopefully we will tackle for that at some point, but we have no idea when it's though, but that's just mainly because no matter what though, we're still in July though, and chances are though is about the fact that hopefully though we can easily guarantee able to catch up to try to celebrate the Mario's 40th anniversary for the legendary Mario game series, you know? Anyway, oh, and on top of all that stuff though, is about the fact I've noticed about the fact that there's actually some cool stuff has been revealed for the sake of the forms of Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, specifically the Collector's Edition. Like, they've got all sorts of stuff here and there, such as the game itself, obviously. And if you pre-order the game, it doesn't really matter what version of the game you own. Basically though, you get yourselves a pre-order Sonic the Werehog DLC included, which I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be for free eventually later on. I mean, chances are though, the game itself is going to be super ridiculously pricey compared to the forms of how it does on the past, you know, past Sonic games, since, you know, not only, Sonic Frontiers, but in addition to, Sonic Origins Plus, and, Sonic Superstars, and, Sonic X Shadow Generations. So, no matter what those, that Sonic Racing Cross Worlds is by far the first, Sonic game currently as of now. The price tag is ridiculously overpriced, especially if you're trying to go after, you know, the Digital Deluxe Edition with the Season Pass and, you know, a bunch of stuff though, really. So, in terms of the forms, the Collector's Edition, as far as continuing with that discussion, they've also going to include 24 foil trading cards, which, yeah, is pretty self-explanatory. In addition to that, they also going to include certificate of the Authority license card, I think is what it says anyway. And in addition to that, Sonic and Shadow Racing statue. I think that particular statue does look pretty cool whenever I first saw it. And I've also do realize that it's only going to be available on, let's just say on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch 1, and as well as Xbox One, and also Xbox Series X, I'm pretty sure. But not as much the Switch 2 version, so I suppose we'll have to wait and see what happens in due time. Oh, and they also bring us the Steelbook, and also Sonic Rear View Mirror, Dingler? I think it's what it says anyway. And in addition to the art book, and the 2-disc soundtrack CDs, and the comic. Okay, that's interesting. And on top of that, the stick-on chrome car emblem. Okay, that's interesting too. And King Boom Boo keychain. Okay, that seems kind of random. And aside from that, that's as far as we can say in terms of the forms of several of those collectibles you might get in terms of likely trying to pre-order the collector's edition for you know, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds for sure. So because of that though, I think my biggest worry about the forms of Nintendo Switch 2 version as of now, for the sake of the forms of, well, for Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, something tells me about the fact that, as we expected, it's gonna be on Game Key Card, and I'm like, oh no, not again. Especially because, you know, we've only got one Game Key Card game for Nintendo Switch 2, and that's of course Sonic X Shadow Generations, but I have no doubts we're able to actually get plenty of more. In terms of the forms of those Game Key Card physical releases for Switch 2, but we shall wait and see what happens if they bring us some more third-party supportive stuff, especially noticeable with the forms of hopefully potentially with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, and etc, you know? So of course we meet again with the forms of Big Boo, or King Boo to be more specifically. So as a result though, the entire battle remains the same as before, but with visual changes. Specifically though on the top screen portion of this battle, so chances are though, once you get the hang of the forms of the mirror reflection, then you should be able to kick his butt no problem. And exponentially, we can now unlock Luigi. So only one more character left in terms of unlocking playable characters department, and that's of course Wario himself. So, in fact, no matter what though, the entire destination for the Wario's stage coming up is actually not going to be as long compared to the forms of how it does it on the actual Super Mario 64 DS, and you see what I mean, until if we get into that particular stage. So, and I believe for the most part we are basically done with the entire stage itself. And as far as I'm aware, there must be somewhere down here, likely there's going to be a another stage as far as I'm aware. So I'm pretty sure no matter what though, oh, this is going to take place in this particular familiar environment. So usually likely for the sake of the forms of seaside islands and stuff like that. So we're able to investigate there. So I'm pretty sure, out of all of the actual secret courses in this ROM hack, this is the only stage, in terms of the forms of this ROM hack anyway, in terms of the secret courses, it only has whopping 3 power stars in this particular secret course. Like, one of them involves around, once again we got to collect some more silver stars and what have you. And I believe there are some red coins we do need to find, obviously. And in addition to that though, something tells me about the fact that we do need to find the correct order for those treasure chests that does need to be open. So I guess that's our part of a plan in terms of the forms of how the missions is going to play out for this entire stage already. So yeah, that will totally be the case here. So anyway, oh, in addition to that, speaking of which, in terms of Sonic the Hedgehog related, I finally managed able to unlock myself a yet another playable character in Sonic Dash, and that's what appears to be none other than Sheriff Sonic. And no matter what though, I felt very satisfied for able to finally get a chance to unlock him, especially because no matter what though, it's about the fact that at this point in time, I can now decide able to actually take a break on playing that game for a while, until something new comes up. So either way though, and also, I don't suppose if you noticed, but I do apologize about the forms of the last video, that usually for whatever reason about the fact that, like I said before, that our commentary is not the greatest. But regardless of such though, there was one major issue I had with the forms of the last video I somehow did, for my commentary anyway. Nothing bad or anything, it's just, once again, my microphone keeps glitching out. And as a result though, that's getting pretty annoying and repetitive very fast. So I would imagine about the fact that until next year, we'll definitely try to get our microphone be replaced by a different one, if possible. So either way though, we shall wait and see what happens in due time, especially because after all, we almost had that particular trust microphone for about, you know, 5 years or so. So either way though, I mean 5 years is going to be quite long enough as it is, so as it stands. So, but we'll promise you guys, until next year, it'll be a New Year's resolution to able to actually have a brand new microphone. I'll promise you guys for that. So, pinky promise as far as my finger tells me to. So either way, let's go and obtain the power star right there. Yeah, pretty swell. And on top of all that stuff though, is about the fact that there's also worth noting for about the fact that, like I said before, or technically speaking, I'm pretty sure that some toys else have mentioned about this before, but I'm also saying anyway, that yeah, it is rather unfortunate for the Switch 2 version of WWE 2K25 physical version, and that's mainly because no matter what though, if you're trying to get the game physically, it did say on the actual bottom left corner, it did say full game download and game card not included. So because of that though, they'll just get ripped off for able to actually get the physical version of that game on the Switch 2 version. So yeah, it kinda sucks though. Alright, not doing too shabby right there. In fact, that particular mission we somehow did, it reminds me of so much of exploring for the forms of Delfino Airstrip from the likes of Super Mario Sunshine, whenever you're trying to grab those red coins in that particular spot. And as a result though, yeah, that particular mission we somehow did reminds me of so much of that. So, and I believe we are technically not done with this, like I said before, because, you know, this place does have 3 power stars, which so far we've only done 2, and now we're down to 1 more before we move on to the next set of stages, and hopefully we can able to try to unlock Luigi as well, eventually at some point. So, alright, so it's that treasure chest over there, so we did somehow found that instantly. And of course, as be expected, if you do manage to accidentally try to open up the wrong chest, then you have to restart the entire cycle again. Which, straight to the point though, yeah, that's what I thought. Just as far as I was expecting, huh? Although it is nice to be able to actually hear that Delfino Plaza theme in the background, because obviously though about the fact that it reminds me of so much of a tropical setting vibes to it, so... But anywho though, I guess there's nothing else I can really say, apart from the fact that there are some other stuff worth noting for, and that's what it appears to be for the fact that I believe that there's actually a new trailer that just came up for the sake of the films of Shantae Evans' Risky Revolution for major, you know, console platforms for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox systems, and Nintendo Switch. So suffice to say, I'm really expecting to believe that the game was expected to be finally get ourselves the actual proper release date. I'm presuming so. That's gonna be coming out at some point in during the Phones Upon Summer 2025. So we still have no idea when though, but maybe chances are though we'll hear more about that during at some point. So it was also reassuring about this too, is about the fact that I've noticed there was actually a lost Game Boy Advance game was just recently got discovered from some fans out there, and that lost Game Boy Advance game was actually called Animaniacs Hollywood Hypernautics, I think is what it says anyway. And that game is basically like a 2D platformer, which it never seems able to get released, unfortunately. And as a result though, I consider this to be about the fact it's almost like a similar vibes, or a similar situation, as the forms of one of those Tiny Toon games, specifically Tiny Toon Adventures Defenders of the Universe for both Nintendo GameCube and PlayStation 2, where basically though those games unfortunately though never gets its proper release, which as a result, it's just such a shame honestly, because I would like to be able to try those games out, or to be more specifically Tiny Toon Adventures Defenders of the Universe to me, because for what I've heard, that Fifi LaFume, she was actually a playable character in that game, which is pretty cool to me though. Well, chances are though is about the fact that it's rather unfortunate that game got cancelled for the sake of the forms of, well, despite the fact that I've still noticed that the game itself is still complete, but it's just that it never gets released and elsewhere. Well, yeah, it's a bit sad, you know? But anyway, so now we've actually found the correct order when it comes to opening up those treasure chests, and suffice to say, we are basically done with this environment. Oh yeah, and there's also reassuring about this too. Speaking of unfortunate news just came up to be. Unfortunately though, both Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 remakes are not happening, unfortunately. Which is kinda sucks though, because I would love to see some polish, and in addition to, you know, revisiting Chao Garden with gorgeous visuals and all that stuff. But unfortunately though, is about the fact that Takashi Iizuka confirms about the fact that the worst news for Sonic Adventure remakes is unfortunately not happening. So yeah, it's pretty sucks and sad at the same time, because regardless of such though, I totally get it they want to move on to its well, let's just say, for lack of a better term, like experimentation kind of experience or something. Well, chances are though is about the fact that, because I do remember that I believe that one of the comments did say during the informs of our Let's Play of Knight's Journey of Dreams for the Wii, and chances are though is about the fact that one of the comments, specifically Amari White, he did manage to be able to point out that he was asking about the same thing back in the day in 2021, for able to actually try to, like, hopefully, God forbid, trying to able to bring not only Sonic Adventure Remake, but in addition to Sonic Adventure 2 Remake as well. But unfortunately though, this is now the case where the fact it is rather unfortunate that those remakes are not happening. So yeah, it really kinda sucks. But anyway, we've now unlocked Luigi now, so this means about the fact that we can able to actually do all sorts of stuff with Luigi in this particular ROM hack. So, but before I do that though, let me quickly go ahead and switch over to Yoshi for a second, because now we have the ability to use not one, but two hats. So logically though, we can now able to actually go into, let's just say, oh god, I totally forgot about the lava thing right there. In fact, let's just see what's on the right side of this particular area right there. Oh jeez, this is what I was thinking about anyway. That something tells me that this particular course is a bit tricky, because as far as I'm aware, that this particular stage does have 2 power stars. Like, one of them requires you to be able to get all 8 red coins, and in addition to that though, we need to find a hidden area in order to be able to actually access to the power star itself. Although it does look pretty awesome to say the least, able to see this entire stage, but let's just say the best advice I can probably think about is to take it too slow, because otherwise if you go ridiculously fast, you're gonna die a lot. So, yeah, that's one way to put it. So, either way, nicely done. Especially that we somehow managed to realize that we have to jump immediately as soon as you see those rocks in between. But yeah, not bad. So, either way, but of course, we'll have to go back in here to do the... well, another Power Star mission as far as I'm aware. Although, fortunately though, it's about the fact that recently though, that Night Dive Studios have just announced about the fact that they're trying to bring the physical version of Turok Trilogy of games for not only for PlayStation 5, but in addition to Nintendo Switch as well. So of course, they're able to actually bring 3 games into the entire bundle when it comes to the forms of, you know, get it because, you know, Turok Trilogy is all about 3 games in one franchise and then all that stuff. So chances are though is about the fact that the release date has also been confirmed too. Like, it's expected to be releasing until specifically until the Halloween or something like that on the 31st of October or something. So chances are though is about the fact that, yeah, that's precisely the point. So those 3 games in particular we're able to include are obviously Turok Dinosaur Hunter, and in addition to Turok 2 Seeds of Evil, and Turok 3, I think it says the subtitle for this, and it did say, oh god, I have no idea what the game itself is called now, because, well, chances are though, because as you can tell, that we got screwed over by, you know, getting bumped onto any other walls and all that stuff, which chances are though, yeah, that was... yeah, because I can totally see why this particular obstacle course right there is definitely a little bit trickier, so... but I digress. Oh yeah, the subtitle for, you know what I'm saying with Turok 3 was actually called Turok 3 Shadow of Oblivion. Yeah, that's what the actual subtitle of the game itself is called, so... I know for a fact it's been such a very long while since I actually discussed upon that fact, so... oh, and on top of all that stuff though, there's also this very cool collaboration that's been happened in Japan. That's what appears to be none other than Baskin Robbins, that was actually the ice cream company for Japan. Apparently though, they did announce there's going to be a Super Mario collaboration for this summer, in terms of the forms of that particular, you know, ice cream brand. So yeah, that's actually pretty interesting to say the least. So we're actually getting ourselves some whole bunch of you know, Mario-related things, especially because considering for the fact that, like I said this before, that we can expect able to try to celebrate, you know, the 40th anniversary of the Super Mario Bros. Franchise, you know? So anyways, as you can see on screen right there, we can now able to actually experience the next course, and that's what appears to be called Sunbeam Bay, which as a result is a yet another tropical setting kind of environment. So chances are though is about the fact that, well, I believe in this first mission right there, is that we have to simply try to get onto the top of the lighthouse, and that's about it basically. So self-explanatory right there, so no complaints there, apart from the fact that there's actually the most annoying obstacle we have to worry about, and that's of course continuous cannon fires with the water bubbles, much like the forms of how it does it in the Bob-omb Battlefield, which... either way, I honestly have no idea why the invisible wall stops me for doing so, for doing long jumps and such. But either way, let's do the next mission right here, and I think we're able to actually bring Luigi's cap on, just in case, no matter what though, we have to go from ship to ship. So, that's as far as what the actual mission tells us to. And what's even crazy with Luigi though, is that we can able to actually do you know, backflip while at the same time while trying to go for that little spinny tornado kind of move for Luigi. So as a result, you can easily try to manage to able to pull off some nice little shortcuts if you like. So such as for instance right here. And I've noticed there's actually that little Chuckster kind of enemy right there, which thankfully we can just simply ignore him by, you know, keep on doing that technique. And I love doing stuff like that, especially because it's so satisfaction, and at the same time though, it can be felt a bit broken at times. Well, regardless of such though, I've honestly have nothing else I can really add about here, so there we go, nicely done. And I suppose we can probably do one more mission from now on until we're able to actually end off the video here. So chances are though is about the fact that for the most part, if I get the feeling about this is that I believe the first 3 missions is going to be pretty quick, at least as far as we do know. So anywho, there's also another explanations I would like to explain to you for something, and that's what appears to be for the fact that, have you heard of this film called Shark Boy and Lava Girl? No? Well, neither have I, because I have not seen the film for myself, but I do know for a fact that that particular film has recently celebrated its 20th anniversary since in 2005, and I'm like, probably not gonna celebrate that, I must be honest here, because I've heard so many weird things about it, and chances are though, yeah, I think I might give that film a pass, you know? So, luckily though, there's actually technically the one last thing I want to discuss upon, and that's what appears to be for the fact that we actually got ourselves some updated release dates for the sake of the forms of DVD releases. Specifically, I've only found 2 of them so far, and that's what appears to be both Final Destination Bloodlines and, conveniently enough, Thunderbolts. So, as far as I'm aware, Final Destination Bloodlines is going to be releasing on DVD and Blu-ray, and as well as the forms of 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray as well. It's going to be releasing by that time until specifically the 28th of July, so that's roughly by the end of the month. And on the subject for that matter though, Thunderbolts is going to be coming on DVD and Blu-ray, including 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray as well, until the 4th of August. So because of that, I think my guess when it comes to the forms of Lilo and Stitch live-action movie for DVD and Blu-ray releases, as far as I'm aware, I think it's about to due out at some point for the sake of the forms of sometime in September. But we shall wait and see what happens. So with that being said, folks, is that we get endings up at this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of another Super Mario 3D, the ROM hack of Super Mario 64 DS. Is that we're about to be collecting some more Power Stars in Sunbeam Bay, and you pretty much get the idea for this point. So I'll see you guys until tomorrow. Later, fellas.